Well, I ran out of the 1 and the 5/8 screws. I do have a whole box of 2.5, but they're too long. So what I'll do is I'll come over here and take the screws out that go into these long sections here, like that, and replace them with 2.5. And then use the 1 and the 5/8 on the few remaining screws that I have left. Alright, so here is the finished frame here. You can see that we've got this extra piece right here. That'll help us on the hill. We've got 4 in the front. Like I said, some of that will be buried, and it should work well with the contour of the hill. This is really my first major woodworking project, as I said earlier, and I think it came out all right. I may take my circular saw and try to just trim up these little lips here on the edge. That's another way that you could do that if you wanted to, is to put on your pickets and have them hanging off, and then just come with the circular saw, and that way you'll get square. You can see this one here was a little crooked when it got cut. It's probably square to the actual wood, but the board was probably warped. So these two right here. So if I came down with a, set my blade at a 1/2 inch, I could probably trim all that if I'm real careful. I may do that. A couple other things I need to do is I need to put in the receivers on the corners and in the center here for the PVC hoops, which I'll talk about when I get there. And then we got to set it up into place and excavate out the post holes and pound it down to where it's level. All right, one last thing I added to the frame before I'm going to go ahead and put it into the ground is these hoop supports here. As you can see, these are made out of 1-inch Schedule 40 PVC, and the idea is that we could use like a 10-foot section of 1/2 inch PVC. It will slide into the hole and allow me to create basically a hoop house over this raised bed, so I can either put plastic on to extend my growing season, bird netting, shade, whatever you need to do. I figured I would do it now, so I've got 1 in each corner and 1 here in the side, and I'll show you a little footage. I mean, essentially all it is 6 inches of the 1-inch PVC. I drilled holes at 1, 3, and 5 inches, just so I could get my drill through and screw the screws in. So not really that exciting or hard of a thing, but I think it's going to add a lot of usability. Alright, so what I did was just excavate the square out, and I got it down to about a level I like. It's a little bit higher than 12 inches on this back corner. It's about 14, but pretty much it's under the ground level here, so I'm not worried about any leakage or anything. So at this point I need to level it out. So I'm using my level, and then I have a little 4-pound sledge, and I'm going to persuade some of the posts into the ground. Make sure before you start hitting on this thing that you use another piece of wood. You hit the other piece of wood, that'll protect you, and make sure that nothing cracks, none of your post cracks. You don't want to mess things up at this stage of the game. Alright, so there it is in the ground. I took the remaining soil, tried to fill it in as best I could and pack it down. I'll have to come in with some fill dirt along the edge at some point, I'm sure. But on the inside, I just packed the edges. We're going to cover this with fabric cloth and some chicken wire, and then we'll put down our dirt. So I don't really care about the grass on the inside because we're just going to choke it on out. But it doesn't look too bad. I'm pretty happy with it. But we'll get on to the rest of the stuff tomorrow, because as you can see, the sun is starting to fade. Alright, so the next thing that we need to do on the bed is we got to set up the bottom underneath our soil mix. We got to make sure that we kill off all the grass, and we also want to make sure that we put something down to keep moles and things like that from coming up and eating our vegetables. So I'm going to be using the fabric cloth to put down. That should kill off the grass. Obviously putting 12 inches of soil on top should do it, but you never know. There might be some persistent weeds. You could use anything really. You could put down newspaper. A lot of people do cardboard. I guess they call that sheet mulching, but I'm going to use fabric cloth because I have it, And then to keep out the moles and the voles and the other burrowing creatures from coming in, I'm going to put down some 1-inch chicken wire. I was going to put down some hardware cloth, but the chicken wire was a lot cheaper, so I went that route, and I got a roll big enough to do a couple raised beds. So there's a little initial expense there, but I'll be able to use it in other projects. All right, so we've got the chicken wire down, and we've got the fabric cloth down, and I mainly tucked it over here on the shortest side, so I don't think I'll have problems with the grass coming up. So the next thing we got to do is mix up our soil. We're still doing the Mel's mix here. We've got compost in the back, we've got peat moss, and we've got vermiculite. Now we're mixing 1/3 of each by volume, so I've got a 5-gallon bucket here, and I'm going to start mixing them on this tarp, and then what I'll do is I'll move it up in here and spread it out. I'll probably need to go and get more compost from our local recycle center, and maybe I'll pick up a couple bags of different compost at a nursery. But we're also going to spray some water down on it as we go to help with compaction and you know, just kind of get that soil nice and moist. It's supposed to rain really hard tomorrow, so I'd like to try to get most of the soil done today. Alright, so I finished off all the compost I had. I finished off that 1.5 bags of vermiculite, and I broke into a new package of peat moss. So it's all mixed up. I did pretty decent on this tarp. You just grab the corners and kind of roll it in. Once we started getting a lot more dirt in there, it was a little harder to do. I saw one guy online used a cement mixer. He'd throw in equal parts, mix it up in the cement mixer, dump it into his wheelbarrow. So there's options. We're just gonna bucket this on over because it won't necessarily fit into the wheelbarrow to dump it, but we're going to fill it up, see how much we get. Alright folks, so this is where we're at right now. I'd like to get about another 6 inches or so of soil in there, so I'm gonna have to go get more compost, more vermiculite. I still have a ton of sphagnum moss left. I bought 3 bales, and so far I just cracked into the second one, so go sparingly on that, I guess, when you're buying it. But I'm up to about right here, and I'd like to be up here, and that'll give me a good 6-inch gap up on the top. So gonna need more dirt. All right, mission accomplished. Back from the store, we've got our 5 bags of compost and vermiculite, and we got a different bag of compost pretty much from each store, one of which is actually the bag of compost from the Missouri Botanical Gardens. Pretty excited about that stuff. But I got a manure, I got a mushroom, and then the 2 in the middle are made from food scraps, so be a good variety, and we're gonna finish filling it. Okay, one last thing we needed to do, as you can see, I've got the grid laid out. If you're doing square foot gardening, you're gonna need a grid. It's important to have. I'm using these stainless steel little eye hooks and just some nylon rope. I measured them out every 12 inches and drew my grid. So really the next thing to do is get planting on this. Well, that pretty much wraps up the raised bed project. We've got it built. We're going to get a trellis put on, we're going to plant it, and that's coming up in future videos, so be sure to hit the subscribe button. And if you like this type of video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. It helps me figure out exactly which videos you guys might like. So I hope this was helpful, and you guys learned something. And until the next video, go out and start growing your own vegetables. Despite this cold, cloudy day, lots of wind blowing through right now. Be sure to set up our base underneath the what our soil mix is going to be. Gotta wait for the motorcycle. You ready?
Yeah.
Maybe.